last casual meeting, I kind of told everybody about my experience with 9/11. I grew up in New York City. I was born there. And on 9/11, it was my first year of college, and I was actually on my way to school. We were riding into New York to catch a bus from the Port Authority to get back into New Jersey because it was the fastest way to get to school. And as we were going into the, like right before you go into the Lincoln Tunnel, you can see the whole skyline. And my best friend just kind of smacks me and she said, "Oh look, there's a fire at the World Trade Center." Everyone on the bus immediately just looked right over there. And we were all like, wow. And she's like, "You want to go check it out?" I'm like, a fire? Really? It'll be out by the time we get there. We'll be late for class. Don't be stupid, let's just go. By the time we got into the Port Authority, which is a 5-minute ride right through the tunnel, and we walked over to where our bus stop was, the bus driver says to me, "We're under a terrorist attack." And I told him, "Shut the F up, that's not funny." He's like, "I'm not trying to be funny. We are under terrorist attack." What are you talking about? A plane just hit the World Trade Center. So I look at my best friend and I said, "Do you have any cash?" She's like, "No, I have a bus pass." I'm like, "Oh, I have $5 in my pocket and textbooks. What are we gonna do?" So we walked up and we went to a bar that they had like right inside of the Port Authority to check out the TV. And yes, we are under terrorist attack. And I said, "What are we gonna do?" I took the $5, turned it into quarters, and started making phone calls. Every phone call was $1, so we had 5 calls that we could make. I called my mother, who was in New York City, and thankfully had a cell phone because cell phones were as big as they are now. Not everybody had them. And she said, "Let me know where you're gonna be. I will come to you." My mom was close to the George Washington Bridge, so across Manhattan. And we called her sister, who worked right on the same block as the World Trade Center in a hotel. She said, "Come to where I'm at. Wait, you guys can wait here." Then I realized my dad was inside of the building. My dad worked at the Windows of the World, the restaurant at the top floor. So I called him and his phone didn't answer. Then I called my girlfriend in New Jersey to ask her to pick up my little sister, who was in 3rd grade at the time, and we were not going to be able to get to her that day, to ask her to bring her to a neighbor's. And then I called my mom again and let her know where we were at. Now we have no money, and I was wearing heels that day. These are the shoes I was wearing that day. And the sole actually wound up opening up because of how much we walked. We walked clear across Manhattan, 13.5 miles. My mother walked 13.5 miles to where I was and then back across to get us to New Jersey. And then we walked about 13 miles in New Jersey to get home. That entire day, we didn't know if my dad had made it out or not until we made it home. Thankfully, my dad forgot his cell phone in his car, and for whatever reason, went to his car right before the first plane hit. Yeah. So when we got home, my dad was sitting on the couch watching the TV really quietly, because he had to take a shower. They were taking people across in the ferry if you were covered in soot. And I remember the entire day just sitting in front of a TV watching people jump out of the building because they were actually broadcasting that in New York City. I don't know, a lot of people have said they didn't see that until later on documentaries and that kind of stuff. We were watching it live. We were a block away, and my friend's like, "Do you want to go see?" I said, "Go see what? People kill themselves? I can't. What if my dad's jumping out of the building?" And she's like, "You're right, let's just stay here." And she actually, the following year, joined the Marines because she was so impacted by like everything that had happened. She tried to convince me to go, but I'm not that brave. And I just remember for months after seeing all of the smoke and stuff, like New York just wasn't the same. You couldn't go to New York and not come home without having like soot and stuff on you because there was just smoke there. And you could see it from New Jersey, and it's still really difficult for me to look at the New York skyline and not see those 2 buildings there. I have been to the top, and I will never go into the new building. I mean, I've been to the bottom, I've gone there. A lot of my friends lost parents or family members there, you know, other students that I went to school with lost family. So it's just a really difficult thing for me. Even like when I drive past where they had the memorial in my town, it's not there anymore, where all the candles and flowers and stuff were for people. I get really like, my heart starts to beat really fast, and it's just still really traumatic for me. Especially like remembering that for the entire day I thought my dad wasn't gonna make it. So that's my story. And my dad doesn't talk about it at all, so I don't really know his side of it. My mom told me that he brought home papers that were flying out of the building for whatever reason. He just picked up papers and stuck them in his pocket. I think he was thinking like this is gonna be something. And he has like pieces of paper that are like singed and stuff on the edges. And he has all the newspapers in his garage, but he doesn't like to talk about it. The minute people talk about 9/11, he goes into the other room. So he lost all of his coworkers. The ones that were working that day anyways, you know. So that's a no-go zone.
So none of his coworkers got out? I mean, they were there?
Was he in World Trade Center 1 or 2?
I don't know.
Which
Windows
one
of
got
the
hit?
World.
I believe it was in
I
one.
think it was the first one.
Yeah, it was in one.
Yeah, I think it was the first one. It was the Windows of the World restaurant. So all around it, there's just windows, and
It was a great place.
it's
So
beautiful.
from the time that you realized, oh, here, we are in an emergency, what time frame is it from when you realized it to you got safe and you didn't have to worry about
Oh, we didn't get home until maybe 9 o'clock at night. I
The
had,
whole time you had no idea your dad was home.
no, because our phones weren't working. I didn't have a cell phone. I had a beeper. That's how old I am. Yeah. So, and my mom had a cell phone, and she kept calling, but it's just the signals were not working.
jammed.
And one interesting fact that I found out, because I got into ham radio stuff and everything else, was that they had ham radios inside of the building, and no one knew how to use them. And because communication was so poor, if someone had known how to use them, they might have been able to tell some of the firefighters and police that were going into the building that they were now evacuating. People were going up the stairs while people were coming down, telling people, no, 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 go back. So, and my dad actually went back into the building. He got some kind of an award from the city, his little statue thing he keeps on his mantle, because he helped usher people out. So, I mean, I don't really know very much from his perspective, but my mom did tell me that when I was telling her that I was gonna come and talk to the group about it.
So safely to say 10 hours,
Yeah,
10 to 12 hours. You
yeah.
were-
I mean, I was in the city 8 o'clock in the morning, before then maybe. We were going in to get to our bus and stuff, and we saw what we thought was a fire. So the first plane had just hit or whatever. It looked like
That
a
was
fire.
7 something, yeah.
Yeah.
And your mom walked 40 miles that day?
Oh, she walked, yeah, something like
13
that.
miles there, 13 back. and
13 and a half, yeah.
Does she have high heels on too?
No. She actually wound up buying me a pair of flip-flops at a little Chinese place we saw in a corner somewhere once we made it over to the George Washington, because I was blistering so bad that I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die with broken feet. And really, honestly, that's what we really thought that day. Like, you see military planes flying over you. I don't know what an American military plane looks like in comparison to another one. So, all I kept thinking was, oh my God, here come the bombs. And it was really, really a terrifying day. It was so scary that my mother bought me my first pack of cigarettes. She was like, I think you need these. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, because I didn't even have cigarettes. I had $5 for my pack of cigarettes, and I spent it to call everybody. So, I mean, it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I didn't have children at the time, you know, so it's different now that I have children. When I look back on it, I think, oh my God, what if it had been my kids as a parent? But I asked my mom, like, what did she think? And she said all she kept thinking was she needed to get to me, because she knew my sister was in New Jersey and she was safe. She just needed to get to me and get me out of there.
How old were you at the time then?
18.
What kind of shoes you got now?
So I don't know if you guys want to look at it, but, you know.
Survival boots.
Yeah, not very high heels, but walking that long, not so comfortable. I
Not exactly
do,
functional.
right, and I do now,
Uh,
I keep a pair of sandals or sneakers or whatever, depending on the season, in my car now. Because that will never happen to me again.
How has it changed as a prepper then?
How's what?
How has it changed you as a prepper?
I mean, I wasn't one before then.
That's what got you started?
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Absolutely.
Like, if you look back at it again now, what would you do?
What would I have
What would
done?
you
I
prep
probably
for?
would have had an everyday carry bag. I would have had some food on me. I would have had some cash on me. I might have tried to have something for communications. I mean, it was just one of those situations where I had literally nothing. I had textbooks and $5. Thank God for the $5.
Did you carry your textbooks the whole way?
Yeah. They were very expensive textbooks.
How were most of the other people around you acting? Were they everybody panic mode? Or?
Yes. So we were walking from where the Port Authority is towards the World Trade Center because her sister worked at a hotel right by it. And you're seeing people running towards you and people covered in soot and everybody's crying and we're like, oh my God, we're walking towards this storm and we don't even know what's gonna happen. But it was a safe place where we knew someone was an adult because we didn't feel like adults that day, you know? So, there were people who were kind. A lady gave me a calling card when she saw me crying about my dad. She said, here, I don't know how much time is left on this, but take this. Maybe you can get in contact with your dad. So I used that most of the day, but never got in contact with him.
Were
But
both
when,
people being kind to one another?
yes and no. There were people taking advantage. There were people who were offering people rides to New Jersey for money, you know. Yeah, people were paid like, oh, $50, I'll take you across the George Washington Bridge. For $50, you're gonna drop me off in front of my house. But,
Covers
I
the toll
mean,
now.
right, yeah, so you see a little bit of both. And I wanna say about halfway to the George Washington Bridge, we were walking and we saw some guys playing basketball. And I just kept going to my friend, what are they doing? We're all gonna die and they're playing basketball. Are they crazy? I don't know, maybe we should go tell them. She's like, oh my God, what are you thinking about? I'm like, really, what if they don't know? What if bombs start falling and they're just playing basketball? She's like, well, they're gonna die having fun.
Wow.
So, just a little perspective.
How long before you went back to school then? How long did you?
Oh, going back to school was really impossible. There was a huge interruption in the New Jersey Transit, New York Transit system. So I actually wound up having to drop a couple classes because I didn't drive until I moved here. I didn't need to there. So we had to bus it, and getting into New York was really impossible. And getting to school from where we were at was pretty impossible too, so we just dropped our classes that semester. And the Red Cross actually did pay off my tuition for the semester because my dad lost his job. So that was one nice thing that came of it.
So you became a prepper afterwards. What was the time frame after it happened until you realized that?
That I needed to start prepping. I didn't become a serious prepper. I started carrying more things with me and thinking about, you know, I'm gonna go out and I might not be home. I would always carry like an extra change of clothes or little things. I really got into, I really got into prepping after my husband's cancer. And that was last year. When my husband got cancer and we lost our income altogether, that's when I really said, oh my God, we're not prepared for anything. And I really felt like I was. I mean, I always kept a little extra food anytime I found things on sale or whatever, but we lost 100% of our income because I'm a full-time student. And I have 2 small children now and bills to pay and stuff, so that it became a little more evident to me that I needed to do more and become more proactive. In the last year, Vito already got his CCW.
We've talked in the post and stuff.
Yeah, so we've been working towards
And
Yeah, adding things. We're looking for a house with acreage because I already do garden. I have a very small garden, but it's enough to feed us through the summer. I want chickens. He's like, what happened to the city girl I used to know? I don't know, she died on 9/11, I guess.
Kids will change it.
Right, right. And I feel like my children are definitely 1000% the reason that I do what I do now. So.
Going back to the day that it happened, we always hear stories of the herd mentality. Was that what you witnessed with the people? Was it really a herd mentality, or
As
was
far
it
as,
people as they moved, how they
You know, like
operated?
in Jurassic Park when he goes,
and everyone
really
starts
moving
running.
hard? Did you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah, we definitely saw herds, but mostly in the vicinity from World Trade to, say, the Port Authority.
Okay,
They were saying at one point they're letting people through the tunnel, but walking. So, like a herd of us ran to the tunnel. And when we got to the tunnel, they said, no, we're not letting people across. Are you crazy? The tunnel is closed. What if there's a bomb inside there? I was like, oh, God. So now what? They're like, you have to go get in line for the ferry or go to the George Washington Bridge. So we went to a subway station. Nope, subway is closed too. Okay. So you would see herds of people kind of traveling together,
Mhm.
but nothing, not really like
so everybody
that.
was really friendly,
Yes and
but
no.
moving as a group.
Yeah, I want to say, for the most part, yes.
There's always opportunists.
Right. I have seen a lot of people say that Muslims were celebrating and everything like that. I didn't see any of that, not once. In my school, at the university that I went to, there's a lot of Muslim students who had their cars vandalized. They had a lot of terrible things done to them, and I felt like that was wrong because, I mean, they weren't necessarily involved, you know? So that I didn't like. That was something that I saw that I thought was a little ugly. But aside from that, and, you know, you saw the people who were suddenly all racist and kill all the Muslims, and then there was the people who were trying to still be kind and not jump to conclusions. As far as herd mentality, that's something that I did see a
Mhm.
little bit of, and all the Muslim girls stopped coming to school. It's a lot easier to spot a Muslim woman than it is to spot
Yeah.
a Muslim guy.
Did
Any
you
other
witness
questions?
any like violence, like the movie The Purge or something, where people don't think they can get caught?
That mob mentality.
Yeah.
Not so much, other than like, you know, vandalizing of cars. But nothing too serious. I remember like the day after we went to a park called Boulevard East where you can see the New York skyline. And there were so many police, and a friend of ours got a hotel room to have a party at. And I just remember sitting there and we were all partying or whatever, and I'm like, God, why are we even drinking right now or smoking? And like, we're all gonna die soon. We're going to war. This is terrible. And there were people who were just pretending it was like nothing had happened. And I'm like, guys, wake up. Like, do you see this? And we're looking out the window and all you see is this gigantic like smoke cloud. I'm like, it's like an atomic bomb went off in New York City. And this big cloud is there and everyone's just pretending it's okay. For me, it was never okay. It's still not okay. I can still see that cloud of smoke when I look at the skyline. So, I don't know, there are people who can handle it better than me, I guess.
You were 18 at the time, too.
So your first thought is though, just get home to your mom, get home.
Yeah, I just wanted to get home. I kept thinking of my little sister. And oh my God, how scared she must be being at school and having a stranger come pick her up, you know, a friend of mine that I knew would be home, just to get her to a neighbor's house where I knew she would be safe. But she didn't even know, like my dad didn't know where she was at, so he got home and he went home. And he was waiting for us to get home.
So your little sister, you said worked down by there?
Yeah, she
And was
was,
she okay?
yes,
Were they okay?
yes. Oh yeah, I mean, she just kept working.
How did your dad get home? He had to walk to the...
He walked to where the ferry was, and anyone who was covered in dust, debris, whatever, got ushered on. Yeah, yeah. If you were covered in dust, you were going. And then they were letting other people who were in the line. But that line went from the beginning of where the ferry is all the way down to the George Washington Bridge. So we walked along the line.
What kind
That's
of,
how many thousands of
and
people.
what kind of distance is that?
Millions. Nothing
Manhattan
was done.
Island is 13.5 miles long.
Right, but
So-
from the Port Authority to the George Washington, is that the length of the island, or?
About,
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean,
Couple of
pretty
miles.
much.
I don't know the.
Yeah, I want to say it's about
the
12,
terrain.
say maybe 12 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So-
people who were in line for ferry were totally civil?
Yeah,
Yeah? And
Yeah.
who was controlling those people?
there was police.
Okay.
There was a lot of police. But I want to say that most of the police were in that general vicinity. A lot of my friends who were paramedics and stuff volunteered afterwards. A good friend of mine from high school, his mom called. She was under the debris, and they never found her. So she survived the collapse, but they didn't find her. So that was really difficult, and they all volunteered to go and help, I don't know, with whatever.
Recovery effort.
Yeah. So,
How long was it before you went back downtown to see
oh, I didn't go down for years.
here?
Yeah, I mean, I would look at it from New Jersey, but it's just really hard. Even now, like this trip, my dad works, like, from the new hotel that he works at, is, you can see the new World Trade Center building. And I'm like, Dad, you see that every day? He goes, yeah. I was like, "Oh, okay,
Mm.
all right.
Any
Yeah.
other questions? Anybody, comments, statements, anything?
So, I caught something that it said, you said that you went to a party and everybody was kind of in denial.
Yeah,
And it sounds like maybe you were already starting to get that prepper mentality. And I think
absolutely.
that's kind of what separates us
Right,
from everybody else, I think.
absolutely.
Other people are like, oh, it's not really happening.
Lotus and
We're on the other
Take
side,
care
the
Right.
preppers are the ones
That
that are
was
like,
my
hell, it
aha
isn't
moment.
happening.
Yes.
They think the government or whoever's gonna take care of it. Oh,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna go steal
Right.
it.
I feel like
I think the prepper was always in you, you just needed something to pop it
To
out.
pop it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, probably.
I don't think that happened.
Awesome, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.